Today is Tuesday, the 26th of January 2016. In this video I'm going to discuss the mismatching of lab results such that you can't analyze them. This has come to a head recently when people have been complaining that with the new diabetes cycle of care Mediform, the hemoglobin A1C or the cholesterol don't appear on the form even though they have been recorded. So I'm going to open a patient called test HbA1c and I'm going to do a consultation. This patient has diabetes. I'm going to open the diabetes Mediform and have a look at it. And as you can see here, the HbA1c is missing up here and the cholesterol total is missing here. And the fact is that they have been done, but they're not recorded. The reason they're not here is that they have been mismatched. They're not mapped properly from the lab codes to Health 1 codes. And I'm going to show you how to remap a lab item. But before I do, you should note that you can click here in this button and see all the previous results. Now this patient is a very small patient, he's only had 2 lab results ever, but you will see all his lab results all the way back in time relating to this. So you could see if he had a HbA1c done ever, you'd see it in here. But you could also write it in here, his HbA1c, if you knew it was 6.8. The same with the cholesterol. Say the cholesterol was 6.8 as well. You couldn't say his HbA1c, you might say it is 68 because it's IFCC HbA. Now the others haven't been done as either. So now I'm going to show you why you couldn't see the HbA1c here or the cholesterol here in this patient. Now we are looking at a previous consultation, a lab result on this patient done on the 7th of January 2016. And in here you see all the items that have been imported. And the one we're interested in is the cholesterol fasting down here. I'm going to highlight the one under it so that you can see clearly the cholesterol fasting. The cholesterol fasting has a little T before it. T means it's free text. In other words, it has not been mapped properly. You see the calcium has no T next to it. That means it has been mapped properly. So also with the bilirubin and all the other urea electrolytes and liver function tests. There are a lot of T's near headings and stuff, but they don't matter because they're not real lab tests and you won't be analyzing these kind of lines. But this is very important. So the reason we could not see the cholesterol fasting in this patient's Mediform is because the last cholesterol fasting hasn't been mapped properly. It's got a T next to it. The reason also, if you go back to the previous consultation, that the HbA1c wasn't seen, I put this in to demonstrate this point, is because this is not the HbA1c IFCC. This is the old HbA1c 6.6% and that wasn't picked up. So I'm going to show you first of all how to remap this lab item here yourself, and number 2, how to rename this and multi-rename this for this patient or all patients. So in the first instance I'm going to go to the cholesterol here. I'm going to right click on it and down here you have multi-rename and remap. When I remap an item, it means I will tell Health 1 that the next time this item comes in with the lab code, because Health 1 is reading the lab code for this item here, which is COLT, and sees a lab description of this, Health 1 will map that to any item you want. In this case I'm going to map that to cholesterol total. So from now on, once I click OK, every time Health 1 sees a message with these codes, it will use cholesterol total. It will also, by the way, in this instance, there's the T next to the cholesterol fasting. Once I click OK, it will rename this item or map this one itself, but it won't do it for previous versions of the same item in the patient file or in any other file. What has happened here, if I go into my data exchange module where I download my labs. There's a little button here, this one here, which is Manage the User Mappings. And you'll see here all the mappings that the user input. And if you go down to the bottom, you'll see this one here. That's the mapping table, and that's the code and the lab description, and that's the new mapping. So it's telling me that the next time a lab result comes in with this code and this description, Health 1 will convert it. If I did this wrong and I wanted to delete it later on, I could just simply delete that there. So I have now remapped for the future the item cholesterol, such that the next time I do, if I just save that consultation, the next time I do a diabetes cycle of care Mediform, lo and behold, the cholesterol appears here. So I've solved the cholesterol problem. I'm now going to solve the HbA1c problem. The reason the HbA1c IFCC isn't appearing is because we don't have one. We have HbA1c old style percentage. So if I cancel that for the moment and I go into this consultation where I have the old HbA1c, this has been mapped properly, so I have no remapping to do. There's no T next to this. It's just that it's a different item. It's not the correct item. It's not the new HbA1c IFCC. So I can, and it's the old percentage, I can multi-rename any item in Health 1 by right-clicking on it and go down to multi-rename. I do not need to to remap it because it's already mapped, but I do want to multi-rename it. So there's the item I've highlighted, and Health 1 is saying, do you want to rename this item with HbA1c IFCC? Obviously you can't simply rename it because you can't have a HbA1c IFCC of 6.6. So we have, in this particular multi-renaming, you can do multi-rename any item, but in this particular multi-renaming we have added a little tool to allow Health 1 to convert the value of this HbA1c into the new values for the current patient or for everybody in the database. Let's do everybody in our database for the moment, and I click OK. Now for every single patient, every single value of HbA1c is going to be converted to HbA1c IFCC, and the value is converted as well. So I click OK, and Health 1 goes through every single file. If you have thousands of files, this is going to take some time, obviously, so you might want to do it just per patient. So now every version of HbA1c that we have in the file has been renamed to IFCC and converted to the correct value. Should be noted also, how, by the way, that if you double click on any HbA1c, you will see the old value will be visible, and vice versa. So if you ever get an old value and you put it in there, it will be converted to the new value here. That's just by the way. So what I have done in this video is I have shown you why some items, some blood results in particular, do not appear in the Mediform, and why they do not appear. In this case, the cholesterol was badly mapped, and I right-clicked on the item in the file and said remap item. In this case, we had the wrong HbA1c in the file the old way, and we renamed it and converted them all. So I now have a good result. And just to clarify that, if you go into the file and you find a T next to the item and you right-click on the item, you can remap the lab item from one thing to another. You can remap an ordinary item too, but you wouldn't want to do that. And secondly, if your HbA1c in particular is the old value, you can right-click on it, multi-rename it, and get the new value, and it will convert. That's the end of this video. Thank you very much.